Okay. I think that we are live, gentlemen. Broadcasting to the universe.
OMG.
Very exciting. So yeah, today is the release day. Guys, today is the day. We put all this work in and the album has finally come out so people can hear what we've done besides the 3 songs that we released ahead of time. So I'm very excited. How are you guys feeling?
Good. I've had a lot of positive feedback, a lot of good messages. Everyone's very buzzed about it. So yeah, it's good. Better than some of the reactions I've had about things in the past. So I'm very happy about that.
Wait, yeah, but you're talking about musical things, so
yeah, that's what I was going to. How you come out, musical things or otherwise?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, well, yeah. Oh God, no. Let's talk about music specifically. Okay. Let's stay on the subject, guys. Okay.
Okay. Let's keep it focused. Let's keep it focused on that. So people have been saying very good things about the musical elements.
Yeah.
And how about you, Mr. Darby? What's going on? How you feeling?
I'm very happy we've finally done it. It feels like an eternity since we first started talking about making this album, and we're here, and it feels great.
It's amazing. It's really so exciting. So we're getting a bunch of questions coming in for all of us, and let me feel. I guess I'll do them in order. So Jordan, what an amazing and original album. Thank you so much. This person says, I'm impressed on how unique it sounds. Ooh. Could you share some of your influences and inspirations for composing this album? Well, my influences and inspirations. You know, I mean, generally speaking, on my classical background, my love for progressive rock and all the amazing sonics that are possible today, and just this wide range of colors that you can put on the album, and having terrific musicians like the guys that you're seeing on the screen right now to help me get the music out there and to add their own magic to this. And I think that's kind of what where it's really coming from. So let's do this next question. This is for Joe. Can you discuss the process you go through to sing to Jordan's complex time signatures? Do you count in your head, or you just feel it, or both?
Well, I did have the luxury of the click track when working in the studio on it. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I could have figured it out on my own some of the time. It was pretty nuts, actually. So yeah, with that click, it was really helpful, because then you're like going, oh, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, you know. And so you have to you have to give credit to Jordan for handing me all of the ingredients to make the most polished performance possible.
The funny thing is, I sorry, man, I just want to jump in. You talk about all the time signatures that were there and stuff. I was looking through the Logic sessions while I was recording, and I'm like, oh, look, it's a bar of 5/16, a bar of 7, a bar of 9. Oh, that makes sense. And then you press space bar and play the music, and none of the rhythmic phrasing has anything to do with those things. And I'm just sitting there. I remember I finished the album on Christmas Eve, and it was like one of the really complicated songs. And I was like, oh my God, this is really hard. So I think it must have been even harder for you having to phrase those vocals over that.
Yeah, well, I mean, luckily for me, this isn't my first prog adventure.
Rodeo. Prog rodeo.
Not my prog.
Definitely not your first rodeo.
Progio, if you will. But I guess one way or another, through the experiences I've had in the past, this wasn't too much of a mind mumble for me.
Yes,
so,
right.
So I managed to get my head around it, but I did actually have to spend, I probably spent at least a week, sometimes 2, really exploring each song and developing my relationship with it, so that the delivery was something that I thought was passable and had enough beauty to complement the beauty that was already there, you know. I certainly didn't just sing these songs like that. You know, it did take work.
You know, the what's interesting is that one of the missions, like for you guys and for me composing this music, was it's complicated, right? Parts are complicated, but to do whatever we could to make it something that was as easily digestible and pleasant to listen as possible. So I know, like Darby, you and I spoke about, you know, what's the approach on the drums? Like, you know, the music can get very complex, and of course you could do anything. You could do incredible fills, crazy stuff. But in both the vocals and the drumming, I think that our desire and our direction was to ground it and allow it to be as comfortable, as, you know, musical as possible.
Well, they end up sounding more like songs. Now, I mean, of course, everything is a song in the prog world, but I mean, these actually sound like it's not just a bunch of guys trying to like do their hardest things and show off. You're right, there is grounding, and the songs have a real substance that you don't always find in this sort of music, which I think is a massive bonus.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm proud of the fact that I believe that we kind of accomplished that with things like, you know, even the mellower songs, they're like, some of them are in odd meters, right? Like Footsteps in the Snow or something like that, where it's just flowing along. And I don't think anybody's thinking when they're listening to it, oh, this is like weird or odd. You know,
there's nothing jarring. There's nothing jarring.
Yeah, I think Footsteps is the one that's like in 3 and then 4, right? Da 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 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. Anyway, like stuff like that. And I know, like, I think about, what is it, like Salisbury Hill or something like that with Peter Gabriel, that was notorious for being in an odd time, but you don't really notice it.
Yeah,
that's a nice thing. And I didn't write it when I wrote that. I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to write something in an odd time and it's going to be smooth. I didn't know what. My hands just went on the keys and I just played it. And then later I went, oh, it seems to be in 3 and then 4, which I think is probably the best way to.
That's really how you do it? You just play the rhythms and then you don't actually think about the tempo map. You just see what comes out and then find your way afterwards.
Most often with anything that I do that's crazy rhythms, I'm not thinking. I could. It's not the way I'm thinking. I'm just so used.
But it's so much more musical to do it that way, I think, though.
And
that's what the bands back in the day used to do. Like, I remember talking to Martin Barr about that, and I was like, how did you come up with these patterns? And he's just like, someone would just go, this is a really cool guitar riff. Oh, I'll play a drum beat that goes with that. And no one was ever thinking about the complexity of it. They're just like, this is a cool rhythm. And the fact that you're doing that, I think, is awesome. And it's probably a big part of why it sounds so fluid.
I think that really, I think that is totally a big part. You know, one of the funny things I'm remembering, I think it's in The Alchemist. What is the one that goes da 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 na na, 1 2 da 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 na na na.
Yeah.
When
Ari, you know what?
Oh, when Ari, who's grown up with me, you know, like learning how to tap in 7, 8, and 13 on the way to kindergarten, when she was writing the word, she says, Dad, like, this is a little challenging. It's like, Joe going to be okay with this? It seems weird. And to me, at that point, after I gave it to her, I was really used to it. And I think I just wrote that without thinking about the meters as well. And I said, don't worry. Joe's like a professional. He can do this. And the reality is, you didn't really, at least you didn't tell me, you didn't blink. That was like, you sent it back to me. It was like, okay. And I said to Ari, I said, he had no problem with it. Don't worry. He's a professional.
but
that's what you think.
But no, truthfully, I did actually really struggle with just one beat in those phrases. So the first line is down the winding stairs, and that starts on the 1. So you go,
yes,
down the winding stairs, and then a shadow in the night. So it was getting the on the 3rd beat of that triplet.
The 8, yes, right.
That was a total head scramble, and so I really I had to do it again and again and again for that to sit comfortably with me, because I just wanted it all to start on the 1, and it didn't. But we got it.
Right. Well, sometimes when you get something in your brain, right, it's hard to shake it.
Yeah. Well,
So,
it happens so fast as well. So you have to really think about your breath as well. You can't just kind of lazily go, I'll just have a breath and then I'm going to come in when it's ready. You're actually thinking so hard about when you've got to land.
But it didn't come off that way. It sounds really fluid now. That was my desire, to just make it like as if it's nothing. Right.
I mean, it's the art of making hard things look easy, isn't it? You know, that's our job.
Right. And that's why I hired you. That's why I hired you guys to do that. Right.
Maybe one day I should release a screenshot of all the take folders in Logic of drums I did on like one song.
Right. That's funny. So let's look at these. Let's look at these questions. So I'm just kind of scrolling around a bit because there's a bunch. This is one for you guys. It says, "Can Joe and Darby speak a little bit about their recording chain, vocal mics and pre's, drum setup, etc.? Everything sounds so good. Who wants to go first?" Darby, why don't you take it a little bit?
Oh, okay. I'll go first.
I'll talk about it. Joe can think
I'm
about
going.
it. Technical.
So I recorded all the drums in my studio, which is not the biggest of rooms. So I kind of have to cheat my room sound a bit to make the drums sound larger than they are. But my chain was I had for my mic pre's, I have a combination 4 Neve 1073s, 4 1081s, and then I kind of call them the pointless mics that no one cares about, like snare bottom, hi-hats. They actually just went through an old crappy Focusrite Octapre from about 15 years ago. And tom mics, I use Sennheiser 421s. Kick mic, I had an AKG D12 VR on inside the kick and a Roswell Mini K47 on the outside. My overheads are these new mics that I absolutely love, which are Roswell Mini K87s, which absolutely really leveled up my drum sound. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And that all just went through a UA Apollo 16. So I think I get really nice raw tracks. Hopefully the mixer didn't hate them too much or stress out when he got them.
Yeah, you know, Jimmy T, who did an amazing job mixing this album, who's very particular, he absolutely commented that the drums sounded great and the vocals sounded great, and he was very pleased. No, I don't think he came back to either of you guys with really anything to change. So, I mean, you guys have done this before, so
yeah,
everything was, you know, delivered so beautifully.
Cool. What about you, Joe?
Well, I don't know the model numbers of everything, but I record everything on the desk that's behind me here, which is a Yamaha thing. It's a Yamaha DM2000. It's a Yamaha DM2000, which is actually, it's the same model of desk that I used to use when I worked with the Enid for years, that they had in the Lodge recording studios. But when they bought it new when it was like state of the art for like 10 grand or something. And because these things are becoming a bit more obsolete, I managed to pick one up secondhand for 500 quid. And it means I can carry on working with the same thing I've always worked with, which is great. And the mic I use is this one here, which again is like, it's so cheap and cheerful. It's a Rode mic, and it's I think this model has become kind of it's become a bit standard now for home studios because it's just so affordable, but does such a good job. And I've recorded all of my solo releases on this mic. Every vocal I've done pretty much in the last like 6 years has been on this mic, and it smashed it. So yeah, that's my setup. I'm here in my home studio now. This is my kind of studio / office where I do all my stuff. Yeah,
amazing.
That's it.
I think
that's it.
I think you need an endorsement with that mic company.
Yeah,
for sure. Because you sound great. Yeah. So
I need free stuff.
Free stuff. That's right. If you're out there and you're listening, We're going to deliver the goods. All right. So the next question, this can kind of be for all of us too, but this person, their simple question is, what did you learn while working on this album? I guess I can go first. So it's funny because I was talking to an interviewer today, and I was saying that it's taken me a long time to get to a point in my musical life where when I'm making a rock album, I could kind of decide and emotionally get very like settled feeling. And I think that's why first it was like almost like a decision process. I thought, you know what? I want to make a rock album, but I don't want it to be all like just wild prog and lots of chops and just like, you know, doing every meter in the world constantly. I want it to be something like that I would want to listen to. And I, you know, came to the realization that I enjoy listening to music that has vocals on it, right? A lot. I like vocals. So look who's joined us. Ariana Rudess.
Hi guys. Hi Darby.
All right. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Nice to see you. Yeah, good.
Nice to see.
Yeah.
So good to see you.
Good.
So
this is where we ignore the live stream and we all just catch up amongst each other.
We catch up.
Pause. Thank you.
I'm going to finish answering this question, and then we'll pivot to you, Ari, because I think that you can't stay with us for too long. So I'm going to, where was I? So I'm answering the question, what I learned. So I'll keep it short. So basically, I learned that, yes, like take a deep breath. It's okay not to be going for it the whole time. I mean, it's in our DNA as prog musicians. A lot of us want to show off our 13/8 ability and our, you know, polyrhythms and our harmonic language and all this stuff. And all that is very cool. I mean, it's who we are, but also offer something that's just plain nice and feels good and allows people to, you know, just enjoy and listen. And I feel like that's what I kind of learned. And that's why I'm so happy with this release. And I'm so happy that it brought all of us together, because I feel like, you know, this is, to me, this is like my best, you know, rock album. And I'm just pleased to have you guys have been a part of this, because you made it, we did it together, really. So guys and girls. So yeah, so I guess since Ari's here, can't hang out with us for too long, we should probably talk to her a little bit. For those of you who don't know, this is Ari, and she wrote all the lyrics. And when I came to the conclusion that I wanted to make an album with all the vocals on it, we needed a lot of lyrics. So honestly, I wasn't really feeling up for that task. I wanted to give it to somebody who is an expert in language, and my daughter is just that, and also has been studying progressive rock since the day she was born, and tapping 7/8 time and fives, and you know, all that kind of good stuff. So there is a question for her, and here it is. It says, the lyrics to The Alchemist perfectly capture the 12th century belief that not only can base metals be transmutated, but that the human soul and ultimately society could be made more perfect. Ari, had you previously studied the topic before writing the lyrics, or did you do some research to come up with such a compelling narrative? Wow, good luck.
Question. So when my dad sent me that track, I was sort of like, what the hell is this? And what am I going to make this song about? So I texted both of my parents and said, like, it was just called track 7 at the time. What should track 7 be about? And my mom wrote back, probably kind of randomly, although we'd have to ask her, make it about an alchemist. So I did end up doing a little bit of research, but that was the loose inspiration. And I didn't know anything about alchemy going into writing the song. Now I know the bare minimum.
Yeah, but you're creative enough that you spun a good story.
Yeah, The Alchemist, it's more a symbol, I think, than anything else. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. And you know, one of the things while you're here with us, every interviewer asks this, and every time they do, I'm thinking, I don't know, go ask Ari. They say, okay, this album is supposed to be about, war and peace of the world, this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't write the lyrics, but, so since you're here, why don't you explain to us, a little bit about where the lyrics are coming from in a broad conceptual place? To answer that question once and for all.
Yeah, there's not, I guess the streamlined answer is that I was sort of trying to embody your voice and your musical and creative ethos in writing the lyrics. My dad and I have collaborated in a very informal way for my whole life. And going into this album, I wasn't really thinking about inputting my own voice into it as much as I was trying to sort of encapsulate the spirit of Prague and the Jordan Rudess artistic world. But in terms of the themes, I guess it's sort of up to interpretation. I was definitely kind of responding to what was going on in the world at the time we were writing it in terms of current events and a lot of violence and unrest globally, but also it was maybe just a bit of a commentary on the human experience and some of the themes that my dad and I talk about in our father-daughter life and just as humans on the planet.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So, one thing that's of interest people should know is Ari knows this music better, I think, than any of us. And we'd be hanging out and I go, Ari, how does that song go again? It should be, oh, it's this one. And she would start to hum it or, I don't know. I can't keep track of all these things for whatever reason, but she always keeps track of it all. And she helped. Actually, didn't help. She decided on the order of all the songs. She does. She's like the Mike Portnoy of our band. With Mike, of course, in Dream Theater has a really strong feeling for that kind of thing, and Ari had a very strong feeling for the flow of the songs as well. What was that like, putting the order? This is my question. What was your thinking process behind the order that you kind of designed?
It was kind of intuitive. I feel like we were living and breathing these songs for 7 months. Did you tell them about the inception of all the melodies and how we kind of picked them?
You should tell them. Yeah.
We were on a family vacation and my dad had taken a bunch of little clips of himself playing maybe 16 bars of different melodies, just short little clips, in a very loose way. And we just sat on the couch one day and went through and kind of picked which ones might be good launching points for the songs on this album. But to answer the question about the order, I think, like you said, at that point when we were coming up with it, the songs were so kind of ingrained in my psyche, the lyrical content, but also the melodies, that it just felt very intuitive to me what order they should go in, from a musical standpoint, but also contextually.
Awesome. There's a question here. Were the song titles already decided before the lyrics, or were the titles created after or with the lyrics?
The titles were created after. It was a text chain. It took us 5 minutes, and we just came up with all the titles after the lyrics had been written.
Yeah, sometimes things flow, right? And Ari, what was it like to write lyrics for such an esteemed vocalist like that Joe Payne?
Oh my God, it was a huge honor, and an even greater honor getting to be part of the process of hearing Joe's earlier versions. That I felt so lucky to have that experience and to have exposure to such talented professional musicians.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really nice. Let's see other questions. I think we had stopped. Oh yeah, because Ari jumped on. What did you learn while we're working on this album? Darby, do you have anything that you might want to chime into that question? Is there anything you learned?
What did I learn?
Never to do another album with Jordan. Never.
Not at all. I think I learned that some of the stuff pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I learned that I can achieve more than I think I can. You know, it's good. I like it when anything's a challenge. So I think I've learned to trust my ability on my instrument a bit more.
That's awesome, Joe.
What have I learned? Have I learned anything? Is that
yeah? Have you learned? Is there anything that came out of this on any level, really?
Well, I mean, it was definitely the most complicated music I've ever had to try and sing, and that's great because I love a challenge. To be honest with you, I find myself bored by most things, and I can honestly say I didn't find any of this boring. And you know what else? It actually made me so happy to do it because I recorded all of my vocals over the winter, and I usually suffer really badly from like seasonal depression, and it didn't get me this year because my endorphin levels were just kept so high all the way through recording this music. So you gave me a very very happy Christmas and New Year.
Oh, that's amazing.
So thanks. But I don't remember what the question was. Sorry.
That's all right. Well, no problem. One of the things that people are asking a lot is that everybody's saying this album, this it just feels like a band, and I'm like, I love that. This is really perfect, and I resonate with that because on every level, the lyrics, the drumming, the guitar playing, Steve Dedane's guitar playing, Joe, you're singing, you guys and girls just brought your own energy, and the more you offered of that, really the more I was thrilled, because to me that takes it out of just like my world. Even though I like a lot of different kinds of music, I have a lot of influences, so it's gonna be what it is. To bring it out of that and to add more, like Joe, you would send like me some ideas for a vocal arrangement, things that I would never think of, just because that's not my world. You have your specialty, I have mine, Darby has his, Ari has her, everybody has their thing. So when you offered that, I was like, yeah, like just bring it on. Let's make this more than just Jordan Rudess. Let's enjoy the fact that we all can chip in with this creativity. And that was really cool.
I also love. Oh, sorry. Go on, mate.
I was just gonna, it was so nice for me that you were open to that. That you were open to me adding these ideas, and they're very subtle. They're very. It's not like they're in your face in the mix. And I wouldn't have done any of them if I didn't think it complemented what was already going on. And let's face it, there was plenty going on already. But I always feel like a vocal on its own, unless you want that really solo vocal experience, then a naked vocal can feel a bit kind of, well, too naked. It's nice to give it layers and depth, however subtle that might be, because then it's just got something supporting it that isn't just the rest of the arrangement itself.
Like, I think that like something like Shadow of the Moon is a great example of, like, I said, oh, I kind of want this 3-part harmony thing, and I gave it to you. And, granted, it's, the harmony that was kind of like composed was nice, but then the way you treated it, that's like a whole live, I think that's like a whole live stream unto itself, because the way you made it sound like that was just beautiful.
It needed angels. You're on a rocket ship flying into the heavens. You're flying into the heavens, man. You need angels. That's what it is, That's kind of what I see is like that. That's the vision that I thought already existed within it. So I was just, trying to help to
how many takes
solidify that vision for you.
How many takes did you do? How many vocal tracks did you do for each of the harmonies?
I'm not sure. I think I probably did about 8 per harmony. I think I did a 4-part harmony, 8 for, and I would have tried to have done a slightly different accent for each one as well, so that it sounded like a really full choir.
Oh, now you're giving your tricks away.
I know. Yeah, don't steal my ideas, guys. It's all right. I stole it from someone already, so.
Yeah. Darby, you started.
I was just going to say, I think it's really cool with the process of this record that you actually trusted us just to do what we do and do our thing and listen to our ideas. Because I know, I mean, I've played on a lot of albums, and there's a lot of people that will kind of go, yeah, but it's got to be this or it's got to be that, and they don't want your input. And I think the fact that you let us sort of have free reign to do our thing and trusted us was really cool. I mean, I remember, because originally I was going to come to New York and do the album with you, and then timings didn't work, and I said, look, can I do it from my studio? And you were like, oh, can you just do one of the songs and let's see how it turns out? And I remember sending it to you thinking, oh, he's going to love it, but he's going to want me to change this and move this around, and can you do this? And I just got a text message back that said, perfect, next song.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what I
it happened virtually the whole thing, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's kind of amazing that, I mean, my style is, I think, a little bit like, you know, of a unique blend, and we had never worked together before. So for you to come and just kind of like play what I felt should be the drum part without me having to say anything was, I guess I'm just lucky. Or you just like, you know, you grokked the style, the blend really fast.
Well, I think when we spoke about this on the Dream Theater tour last year, I think we kind of worked out, and this is almost why we hooked up for this. We had quite a love of the same sort of music, and it seemed like our influences were from a very similar place. And I think that's kind of why that's happened on this, and why the compatibility was so good, and why it was a pretty easy process.
It flowed, definitely flowed. So Ari, while you're here, so you helped me produce this album, and it was a really, really big job. And there's obviously some things that I'm good at, but some things that I'm not good at. And I'll tell everybody, and I'm not even exaggerating, like, I don't even know if the guys know this, but Ari is more particular about things than me. I'm not kidding. She's like,
Joe probably knows that.
She's like, Dad, in that spot, you know, there's something going on. Like, she called me one day and there was some bleed of like some other vocal thing that I don't remember exactly what it was that we weren't going to use. And I was like, really? You're kidding. So he's like, no, go back and listen. And I went back, I listened, and went, oh, holy shit, you're right. So what was it like? How would you describe your perspective, your role, things that you can remember or think about in the process?
Mine?
Yeah. You.
It's such an interesting question, because it you know, like, this didn't feel like a professional obligation. It felt like I was like doing a favor from my dad, like taking out the trash or like doing the dishes. It's like a different mentality. And because we have like music is a part of our familial relationship, I guess I'm not afraid to tell you when something sounds off to me. And I felt so invested in this album and where it was going. So yeah, I'm not sure if that totally answers your question, but.
Well, I just find it interesting because, you know, we come from, in our family, we have the music thing, but we also have the marketing and the theatrical side. And you used to work in casting. So you're very familiar with voices and, you know, and choosing actors and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of have that other perspective on things, which definitely was a part of making this album happen. It was really, you know, really, really interesting. I mean, sometimes, you know, you'd say something and I'd be like, no, it's okay, because maybe you're coming from a different perspective. You're looking at it from a different lens. But sometimes you'd say something and I go, yeah, you know what? We got to think about that. That's really interesting. So yeah, your job was, you know, it became, you wrote the lyrics, of course, everybody knows that, but your job became more than that.
Yeah, I guess it sort of did, just naturally.
Yeah. So I'm looking at some of the other questions here, and here's one that's kind of interesting. Jordan, what was the catalyst for you choosing Joe as the vocalist for this project? Great choice, by the way. I've been a fan of his since the Enid days.
Oh, who asked that?
That's nice.
I know them.
The choice was it was a big decision because I didn't know about Joe when I set out on this project, and I wanted to find a voice that was symbiotic with my musical output. I definitely didn't have any like growly stuff on the album, and a lot of people these days are singing like this, that kind of thing. And I didn't necessarily want that. So I was kind of at a loss for a little while. I didn't know what to do. And one day I'm talking to my friend Roy from Prog Report, and we're just talking about some other stuff. And he says, "Oh, do you know this singer, that Joe Payne?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." So he kind of introduced me to Joe, and I looked up his music and kind of went back and discovered this group, the Enid, that I didn't know about. And I played it for Ari, and I played it for my wife, Danielle. And we were all like, wow, this guy has a beautiful voice. Just seemed like, just hit me as being so musical and very unique. And I thought, okay, we got to talk. So we actually talked a bit. We discussed for a little while about my doing something on Joe's album, him doing something on my album. And as the timing worked out, that's what worked out. And so here we are. That's kind of like what happened.
Yeah. And I was not expecting you to ask me to do anything, any of your projects. I really wasn't expecting that. I thought I was going to be talking to you to pretty much beg you or sweet talk you into making a feature on one of my records, which of course would have worked out really nice for me, because I would have been able to say, I've got the great Jordan Rudess on my song. Please come and check it out. So for you to then say, "Oh no, I was going to ask if you want to sing on my album," I was like, what? Mind blown. So I was very happy with that first meeting that we had. Yeah,
worked out beautifully. Here's one. Are there plans on continuing the collaboration with Joe and Darby on future albums or projects? And have they invited you to play on any of their stuff that they may have coming up themselves? Well, I'll answer the first part of that. I would, if the guys would have me, I would love, and if everything can work out, because it's a little while off, but I would love to do something together again. I think a follow-up to this would be absolutely awesome. I think we all kind of learned a lot. I mean, as you've been hearing, a lot of things were very synchronous. They just kind of flowed and were very natural, which led to the album that it is. But if we could do this again and have something else, then that would be great on many levels. And one level is that maybe at that point there's a possibility that we could go out and play some live shows, and we'd have more of a collection of music to even draw upon, which would be amazing.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Now, have they invited you to play on any of their stuff? Not yet. Well, Joe was thinking maybe about it, but his album was basically done when that happened. So,
I'm gonna have to make more albums. So, I might ask again.
I don't know. If I'm lucky, I'll get an invitation, right? I don't know.
Well, I mean, who else am I going to ask? Darby Todd? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I could play it. I am in the top 10 most affordable drummers in Europe. So,
can somebody put up a list of those on the screen, please?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm the first 5. I'm definitely going to rope you into something. I wish I'd known you 18 months earlier, so I could have got you to play on my record, which would have been great. But I don't plan on making another record for a while. I think I'm just it's a much easier life working for other people. So, but then actually we turned up on Charlie Griffiths' album together.
That's right.
About a year and a half. So in fact, that's kind of where we first met, just before we started touring.
Yeah,
so yeah, I will definitely be roping you into stuff, whether you like it or not.
Awesome. I like it. Maybe I'll get scared from your time signatures.
Exactly. Yeah. 4/4.
Yeah.
Make sure you stick some weird chords in there as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll get Ari to do some vocals for us as well.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Ari can do the vocals and I'll write the lyrics. And we'll do a switch.
Can I play keys?
Why not? Everything is fixable. Everything's fixable, so
yeah. Not that we did any of that.
I'm gonna hop off, but it's so nice to see you, Joe and Darby. Say hi,
Harry. Lovely to see you.
And thanks
so great to see you, my darling. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for joining. Bye. So Awesome, guys. So there's some more questions. Here is one that is a quick one from me. I lost it. When did you learn how to play the piano? No, that's not a question. Yes, here. This is a funny one. Hi, Jordan. I heard a little bit of Keith Emerson in The Alchemist. Was it intentional? Yes, definitely. I like tapping into my Keith Emerson roots. You know, Keith Emerson was probably my biggest influence in the world of playing progressive keyboards. When I heard Tarkus, it pretty much blew my mind and opened me up to the fact that a keyboard instrument can like really rock and be aggressive and strong. Not only that, he also opened me up to those kind of like suspended chords and suspended second chords and fourths and chords just built on fourths and that organ tone. Very influential. And I feel a little like responsibility to carry that on because I love it. And I also think that it was an important, kind of part of our musical history. So, I'm confident enough in my own blend of styles and the way it becomes a soup and the way I get it out there as being original, that if I want to tip my hat to, to a master, especially one that influenced me so much, that I think that's cool. How do you guys feel about that? Like, Joe, how do you, like, you have heroes and everything. How do you approach that kind of thing?
I mean, musically, I don't think I'm actually like that influenced by anybody because I don't. Honest, this is controversial, but I don't really listen to music like ever. I don't. Like my mind is already doing enough, and so I just focus on what's already in my head and getting it down. And so I haven't. So most of the time, people talk to me about musicians that they love and people from their kind of catalog that they're obsessed with, and I don't have a clue about any of it, and that's me being very, very honest. I'll listen to a bit of like Britney Spears when I'm at the gym or something. That's as deep as I go. But yeah, like when it comes to my kind of natural musicality, I'm afraid it really does just come from within.
Yeah. But you have favorite vocalists, right?
Oh yeah. And they're all female.
Okay.
All my favorite vocalists are female vocalists.
Nice.
Interestingly, yeah.
Okay. But we talked about that when we were in America, and you said that like half of your thing is you quite like phrasing how a female vocalist would do parts as opposed to a male guy, didn't you? It's kind of like. And I think some of those ideas are what give it that sort of uniqueness as well. Yeah, or did I just make that up?
No, not at all, not at all. Right. And I think it's very difficult for people to necessarily understand when they hear my voice and they make comparisons. They're always very, very quick to compare me to Freddie Mercury and George Michael, and yes, I can see where the similarities lie, but I can guarantee you that they were influenced purely by female vocalists as well.
Well, then you might be happy to know, or I don't know if you'd be happy. There's a funny interview. There's like a podcast, father-daughter team in the UK, and they hadn't done a lot of research about it, but they do. I don't know why it was a little bit captivating to watch this, but they listened to the album, maybe Shadow of the Moon or something like that. And the dad was saying, "Oh, it's a really, really good female vocalist." So, I was like, God, you haven't done any homework. You didn't look up the person's name was Joe. Like,
do you know what though? All of these songs were set very high in my range, and I did actually have to really work on practicing and redeveloping my crossover from my chest voice into my falsetto, and like that crossover is something that I would say I've gotten around kind of neglecting more and more over the years, where most of the music I perform is stuff that's written by me anyway. So I've gone, all right, okay, I'm going to write it here because it's extra comfortable there.
Right.
And so So I've kind of gone, right, okay, this is set really high, and I can do it, and I did do it. But yeah, like it took a lot of control. I had to really focus on my technique more than ever. So maybe it would have been easier for a female vocalist to sing, and maybe that's why I sound like such a girl.
Well,
there we go.
There really is something about that ability to cross between your chest voice and the falsetto. I'm really good at it. Oh, right. This you can't tell me Marcus.
More of that, please.
Yeah. But anyway, I passed this question to Darby, and then I'll answer a couple more of the ones that came in. If you remember what the question was.
So I don't remember what the question was. I just got so distracted by those angelic vocals of yours.
We were just talking about influences, how the influences, like I said, that I'm happy to just do an Emerson, riff or something like that and kind of show that.
I mean, I think as a musician, well, drummer, not musician, I think, my playing is... Yeah, exactly. It's I'm trying to find another career after this one goes wrong. What was I going to say? I mean, I think as musicians, we're a sum of what we loved and studied and attempted to play as kids and even as adults. And, I had drummers that were my favorite drummers growing up as a kid. And as I've got older, I've added more drummers to that list of people that I really love, and kind of I slowly steal stuff from those people and try and regurgitate it as myself. So I'm sure some of the drummers that listen to the parts out there will probably hear homage to something or kind of go, oh, that sounds in the style of someone. And it probably is. And I think sometimes we do it consciously, and a lot of the time I think it happens subconsciously as well. But it's we are the sum of what we studied, and I think we were all influenced by a lot of people, and obviously for you, like Emerson would have been a big one.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the questions here is about guitar stuff. Oh, this person says, does this album feature you on guitars? So yeah, that's everybody's kind of asking about that because they've seen Instagram clips of me kind of like learning how to play the guitar and noodling around. And so I will say that, yes, there are a few there. I did 3 different guitar solos on this album. So I did get to take some of this new hobby of mine and put it into the album. It was really fun. I probably would have done more, except for I forgot to learn how to record like audio before I went into my window of time to actually make this album. So I got rolling and I was like, shit, I know how to do MIDI, moving around MIDI notes, but I don't really know how to move around like audio. So I had to limit the amount of guitar that I played, and actually gives me a good opportunity to, of course, give a lot of credit to my good friend, Steve Dedayan, who did all the rhythm guitars and played some cool lines with me, as many people have seen in The Alchemist. It's absolutely ridiculous line that he's doubling. And he also played acoustic guitars, and he's also an amazing dentist. So we all tip our hat to him for being great at whatever he does. But he was part of our band. He started with one tune and said, hey, let me try one tune and kind of like take some of your keyboard guitar stuff and do it on the guitar. And I was like, okay, check it out. So we did it. It sounded amazing. And then he proceeded to do all the rest of it. So we got some great guitar from there. And for those who don't know, I also had a young Chilean guitar player. His name is Bastian Martinez, who played on Embers, did the amazing solo on Embers. And he also played the second solos on Into the Lair. I think I did the first one on that track. But an amazing young talent, really, really incredible. So that was our group. Somebody's asking me about the VST instruments, the go-to VST instruments for making this album. It's a good question. I have so many VST instruments, and I basically work in the box. That's kind of like, that if you imagine me sitting in front of the computer with the speakers at the keyboard, that's how I create this album. It's not like the old days when I used to like walk around the room and like everything was connected via all these MIDI cables, and I'd have, you know, something going out to this Moog instrument, and then it's also traveling on the other side of the room to the Novation, and then it's going here and there and everywhere to all the keyboards in the room. I stopped that. I got a little tired of walking around the room after a while, so I started to get really into software. So favorite programs, I mean, there's a lot of them. I love the Heaviosity stuff. It's just awesome, sonic fun. Orchestral stuff, I'll use Spitfire stuff or 8DO stuff. Cinesamples is amazing. I use Ivory by Synthagy for my piano stuff mostly. I've been using that for years. A lot of Dream Theater albums have that as well. And kind of like probably one of my big go-to software synthesizers is Omnisphere. Anybody out there hasn't checked out like Omnisphere and the software by Spectrasonics, they really should, because it's absolutely incredible. And recently I discovered the magic of Cherry Audio. Cherry Audio makes incredible like analog style soft synth. I mean, they're just reproducing, you know, things like memory modes and, you know, Oberheim synthesizers, and they do an incredible job. Really incredible job. So yeah, so that's that question. And I'm looking at other ones. Oh, people are asking who played bass on the album. Do you guys know who played bass on this album? I'm looking for the guy. He's just nowhere to be found. What to do? The bass player was this guy. No, wait, this guy. I don't know which angle you're seeing it, but my left hand was really the bass player on this. And yeah, I mean, some things, you know, instruments like drums. I mean, the keyboards make all kinds of sounds these days, every sound. But, you know, I mean, when you know the best drummers in the world and the best vocalists and guitarists, I mean, I have to go use real people. For bass, I kind of wanted to control, and there's great bass players out there, don't get me wrong, but I felt like I could have a lot of control of my compositions and get whatever sound I wanted. Because you can hear on the album, there's places where it kind of sounds like a fretless bass, or it's a synth bass mixed with a real bass, or it's a tone you might not have heard before. So I'm very good, because I'm very sonically sensitive. I wanted to sculpt my bass sounds in the way that I wanted. And also I have, as a composer, I feel like I'm very like into creating bass lines. So I wanted to have that that control. So looking at other questions. Oh, here's one for Darby. I don't know if you know this. Is the second half of this question, but I'll ask you first, because we're all also closing up here, running out of time. But Darby, can we expect to see you on the Drumeo platform sometime in the future?
I don't know. If they invite me, I will happily go. Definitely, I enjoy educating and enjoy, you know, sharing my knowledge with people. So yeah, anything like that, I would be more than happy to do. So we shall see.
Okay, I'll tell them to. I'll put in a good word for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I know some of those people. I'll answer this question too. Somebody's asking me about the Pianote experience. So Drumeo and Pianote are all part of the parent company Misora, and I recently did a course for Pianote that's available. You can check it out. And I love working with those people. That company Misora is awesome. They do a great job. They're just on every level. Just the people are really, really nice. Their educational materials are well organized. They're in the case of like the camera work and the video, they're shot beautifully. They have helpful things, like when you're playing the keyboard will it'll light up so everybody can see like exactly what notes are being played. And they have this program that I fit into where they ask people to like come on like every day for like 10 minutes, and it's kind of like graduated through the week. So they do things really differently. And also famously, and of course, Darby, you've seen this, I'm sure, as a drummer, they do this thing, it was invented for the drummers, where they'll ask they'll ask a drummer like to play, like hear this piece for the first time.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I've seen a lot of those. It's great.
Yeah, like Portnoy did a Tool one, and you know, a lot of things like that. And then when I went in there to do my piano course with piano, they asked me to play on this song that I didn't even know what it was because I don't really listen to pop music, but it was an Alicia Keys track. And at first, when they asked me to do that, I was like, why are you asking me to do this? This is, I don't understand this at all. But I did it, and I played a bunch of leads over it, and I grokked it pretty quickly because it was pop music and I heard the chords. So they played a few chords, and I was jamming, I was playing along. Next thing I know, in like 3 days, it has like 1 million views. And the funniest thing to me is that they sent me this video and they said, is it okay if we put this online? And it was like, I don't know, like 10 minutes long or something more longer than that. And I'm thinking, who is going to watch this? Like, who would care about me playing with like Alicia Keys? And it's too long. Social media has to be short. Well, I learned a big lesson that I don't really know anything about marketing, because that is like one of the biggest videos I've ever done as far as fan engagement. So I'm open. If you guys have any marketing ideas for me, I'm an open book now, because I learned that I don't necessarily know in this modern world what's going to be, what's going to be the biggest hit. But anyway, I want to close up by saying today is the day, everybody. We released Permission to Fly. I was so blessed to have these wonderful guys that you see on screen, that Joe Payne, Darby Todd, and who's not with us is Steve Judean and Bastian Martinez. And I just feel so proud of the music that we created together. I want to do this again in the future. I have to go on this massive Dream Theater tour and do some things before I can entertain getting in the studio to do another one. But I'm sure that we will stay in touch. And yeah, thank you guys for being here today on this live stream, and for doing your beautiful musical work on my album. And thanks to everybody who has watched this, and everybody who's going to go for the flight and listen to the music, because I give you permission to fly. Let's go. There you go. Joe is flying as we speak. And yeah, exactly. That's what you should feel like after listening to the music. Any closing words, guys? Anything you want to add?
I'd like to say thank you to everyone that's been so nice about my singing. I've never had anyone be so nice about anything I've done before. So thank you to all the press and all the fans and everyone that's just said really nice things. I really appreciate it. It's very affirming, and I feel very lucky that people take me seriously for a change. Thank you.
Yeah.
No one ever takes me seriously.
Never.
When they do, we'll have to really be careful.
Yeah, something's wrong when that happens. But no, I just want to say, I mean, I think it's great to have made music with both of you and the other guys involved, and it's always a privilege to play challenging music with great musicians, and I think we've all done that, and yeah, it's been a pleasure. And let's do the next one. You can write another album on your days off from the Dream Theater tour.
There you go. I'll take an 88-note keyboard into the hotel room with me.
Or me and Joe will come and see you in London next month, and we'll do it in the afternoon.
Well, we have some techniques that we could use to get it done quickly, as we've discussed. But that's a whole nother topic. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. See you
later.
Guys. See you all on the road, and take care. Bye-bye.
How's he gone?